Now, the purpose of this gathering and our work going forward is to find out what we can agree on, okay? We all know, we've been around long enough to know that we constantly get into meetings and conversations and we fall out over those things we can't agree on, right? Well, I don't like the way you comb your hair. You parted on the left side and I parted on the right side, so on and so forth. So the purpose here is to find out those things we can agree on, and we're going to move those forward. This is just a kickoff, okay? This is just a kickoff to a year-long effort that we're going to be making on crafting this united agenda that we talk about.
Crafting a united urban agenda. I want to speak directly to this point. To craft and move and be successful with a united urban agenda, you need basically three things. You need some money, you need a message, and you need to mobilize people around the message. You need these three things. And if you have two and not the other one, you're going to have trouble. Think about having money and mobilization but no message. Why would anybody connect with you? What are we mobilizing for, right? What if we had message and mobilization but we didn't have any money? We couldn't even get coffee. And what if we, had money and message, but we weren't leading anybody? We were like a committee of 2 or 3 people speaking for a group of people who we were not connected to. We've got to be mobilized. We've got to have a solid message, and we have got to have resources to do it.
Great men are developed by great institutions. We need great institutions today more than ever before. Why? Because our children are literally in an undeclared war. And if you think that's hyperbole, let's go back 30 years. The U.S. Department of Education commissioned a study of the quality of American education. Now, this wasn't black education or urban education. They wanted to know how was American education, what was the quality of American education in general. It culminated in a 600-page report. It was called The Nation at Risk. Some of you have heard of that. What I remember from that particular study, it said if an unfriendly power were to impose the type of mediocre educational system that exists today, it would be considered an act of war. We're at war. So let's fast forward. In Minneapolis, over 80% of our children are not proficient in reading and math. And just a stone throw away from our school, 90% of our children are not proficient in reading and math. I mean, as bad as I am in basketball, I couldn't miss 90% free throws. I mean, it would be impossible. You just heard about the graduation rates. For the last 3 years, either Minnesota has been either last or next to last in graduation rates. See, when you're at war, sometimes the enemy doesn't make a direct attack, right? They attack your supply line. So they make sure that no food is getting in. They make sure you can't get any equipment in. And most importantly, they make sure you can't get talent in, right? So people ask me, well, why don't you have more black teachers? Well, our talent pipeline is cut off. So we need to really fill our talent pipeline, and the only way we do that is through education.
So how do I do this, Jeff? I'm trying to figure out how to get, my proposal through. Well, I'll tell you how to do it. All you got to do is pick up the phone, call your legislator. You can start by calling us, but also call your legislator, call your city council member, call your school board member and say, I voted for you and I have an idea and I want to sit down over coffee and tell you how it works. I know you guys are going to think that it was going to be much bigger, but that's exactly what you have to do. I do want to leave you with just a quote. I know that Senator Champion had a screening of Selma, and we are coming up on its anniversary. And Dr. King said in that space at that time, He said, the battle is in our hands, and we can answer with creative nonviolence. We can answer with creative nonviolence the call to higher ground to which new directions of our struggle summons us. The road ahead is not altogether a smooth one. There's no broad highway that leads us easily and inevitably to quick solutions, but we must keep going. That is what we have to do. Thank you, guys, and thank you for having me.
How to do this work. I believe that we have everything we need right now to permanently alter the trajectory of our community in the Twin Cities. We have it right now. Yes, we have it. We have more than we have ever had in our history as a community. So if we can't drive change now, shame on us. Shame on us. There's only one thing we don't have, and that's we don't have organization, and we're not terribly aligned. Actually, that's two things, but you get my drift. That's our problem. That's the missing link. And, you know, when you think about movements like Occupy Wall Street, all that momentum, and it was so exciting, and people really were putting it out there, and then they just sort of peter off, and they just kind of go away. And it's not because people suddenly weren't angry or concerned, or it wasn't because people weren't passionate and wanting to drive change. It was for one simple reason. There was a lack of clarity about the agenda. They didn't know what they wanted. They couldn't explain to any, there wasn't one person, first of all, who could explain anything, let alone a clear plan of action that they desired. So this thing is all about organization.
Now, chapter 4, verse 6 says, for the people had a mind to work. Listen, brothers and sisters, I would have you to know that the prophet Hosea put it like this: my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Knowledge is the accumulation of information, which is your responsibility, but then God gives us wisdom, which is the explanation of the information. And so if we're going to change where we are at, we've got to get to a place where we are able to address the spirit that exists in St. Paul, the spirit that exists in South Minneapolis, and the spirit that exists in North Minneapolis. We got to be able to move them from I can't to I can. Holler back at your boy if you please.
All over the world, come on, join